Switch Hustle with Mags Boland Murphy. This is where we invite inspirational people from business and life to speak about all things that are in their life in terms of business and general as well, and all the bits in between. So today I would like to welcome Anthony Holland, the CEO of Kiltorcan Raceway. Anthony, thanks for taking the time to come along and attend this morning. Anthony runs what I can only really term as an amazing business up in the bowels of Ballyhale in Kilkenny. It's a family-run affair, and it is quite something. It is also the only business I have come across in the activity arena that is open 365 days of the year. So that's quite an achievement, Anthony. So Anthony, thank you for coming along.
You're very welcome, Max.
I thank you, because I know time is valuable to us all. I'd like you to, I suppose, tell us a little bit about what you do up in Kiltorcan and a little bit about the background of the business.
So yeah, Kiltorcan is an outdoor karting circuit, mainly dealing with karts. So my dad set up the business in 1998, started development on the project, and we opened in April of 2000. My dad then stepped away from the business, and he's in an advisory position at the minute. And I'm doing full running of the business now since 2017-ish. So yeah, so it's a lot of work. I did work here all throughout the years, but as a staff member, it's most definitely a lot more on the plate as a managing director. There's a lot more to deal with than just collecting your paycheck at the end of every week. So, but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And one of the things, when I first met you, Anthony, at the start of COVID, I think it was, there was a lot of challenges being thrown to the sector, because let's face it, tourism, hospitality and the activity arena has been dealt, I suppose, one of the toughest challenges to ever be dealt to the sector in its history. How have you overcome all the challenges, and how is the business today for you?
Yeah, I suppose when the rumor of COVID-19 started whispering around in the air last March, things were a little bit unknown, and we started to put some procedures in place for closing, temporary closing the business. We thought possibly for a couple of weeks. Maybe just to get over whatever was going on. Little did we know, 18 or 20 months later, what's after happening. So we were open for 20 weeks of last year. I suppose some of the challenges was just giving people the security that we were doing everything that we possibly could to keep people healthy and happy when they were out having fun with their families. And that's what we've been doing, I suppose, every day. Like, we probably have 20% more time on our staff every week for cleaning, sanitizing, all these kind of things. And yeah, like we would have had a very well-run facility anyway, but I suppose it's just an extra workload that we've put on the staff just to go that little bit further. With sanitizing and stuff like that, but yeah, it's been a difficult period for sure. That's for sure, yeah.
And you know, I've seen it myself, Anthony, that you know there's a huge amount of additional work now, which is physical labor work that is required on site, and that's not easy to transition to. But I suppose, you know, you guys have gotten into setting up SOPs to handle that, but also there's the guidance piece with people coming through the door. How is business at the moment?
Yeah, we've just come off of one of the busiest summers in the history of the business. It's been long weeks, long days. Like, the staff here that work for us have been brilliant. They've really taken everything on board and went above and beyond, because listen, at the end of the day, they're working in the front line of it, and they don't want to be bringing anything home to their parents or partners or wives or whatever, either, or girlfriends. So it's in everyone's best interest to keep everyone healthy, and we rely heavily on our customers as well. And I think they appreciate that fact as well. And we've had a lot of people that would have rang to cancel because of close contacts and stuff. And that to us is gold, because the last thing we want is someone taking a chance coming and then putting all of us at risk, plus everyone else that may be attending the facilities as well. So like we do a good job, and the customers do an amazing job as well. But by God, it's been a busy 4 months. Everyone is just mad to get out and about, and we've really benefited, I suppose, from the fact that we're an outdoor karting track, and the facilities is on 10 acres. The max that we put on the facility at one time is about 20 people. So that's a good area of, I suppose, separation between everyone when they're out having fun. So it's good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it's great to see, I suppose, because to be honest with you, it takes a lot to get through a challenge like that, because it's not just the business. It's, restructuring, setting the painful pieces in place that need to be done, because you have to roll with the punches in this industry. That's something I'd say. And one thing that you and I have in common, and I know you won't mind me mentioning this, is we are both type 1 diabetics. And I think I'd like to get your opinion on this. I know that from my perspective, when COVID hit, I basically cocooned myself. How did you find it, and how do you find it?
Yeah, being a type 1 diabetic, I suppose, is a full-time job in itself. It never goes away. You can never clock out. So you're on it 24/7, 365 days of the year. So that in itself was a challenge. At the start, we made the decision on March 14 to close our business. And I suppose we all kind of went into our bubbles or cocooned ourselves for a certain period of time. I'm a very outgoing, busy man, so I kind of got a bit stir crazy. So I had to get out and about. So what I did was I just done what was in my control. And I suppose a lot of people didn't have the freedom because they maybe were living in a big town or a city, but with living in the countryside, I had a lot of area that I could get out and do some bits and pieces with my kids and family and stuff. So that's what I tried to focus on. I knew I couldn't open my business, so what we did was we changed our focus from not worrying about the business. The business was 20 years established. It was a strong business, and we knew that when we eventually got back to business, people would want to come. So we kind of took our focus off of business and then focus on family and just keeping healthy and safe and for everyone. So it was a challenge at the start, but I think everyone's gardens benefited from the COVID period, that's for sure.
I have to say, like you, I was so thankful that I was living in the countryside. And I'm city born. But thankfully half my upbringing was rural. So I was delighted to be able to just get outside. That was because, like you, I would go stir crazy.
Yeah.
And we had to keep working. We closed the offices very early because one of our staff was pregnant. And obviously, like you, I was high risk, and I just didn't want to take the risk. But I still needed to have that sanity piece of being able to get outside and breathe a little bit, and that's not always easy to do.
Sure, yeah, a lot. Like I suppose we were blessed, I suppose, that we did have that freedom to go do it. But I definitely wouldn't have liked to been living in an apartment, maybe in a city or something like that, because that would.
No. And I
Yeah.
what I've noticed as well, Anthony, like from talking to talking to lots and lots of business owners over the last number of months is the priorities have shifted. Like I had one business owner ring me yesterday who wants us to help him with some specifics in the business. And I would know this person a long time. And they said to me, Mags, I've just completely reevaluated where I am in the business and my work-life balance. And I think that is something now that has really come to the forefront. And especially in any sector, it's incredibly valuable to get the balance right. It's not always possible. And I think with the tourism and hospitality sector, it's such a hard graft sector, that, you're constantly on. When the season is open, you're on 24/7. So you have to really think about how to create that balance for yourself. Because we're not only business owners, we're parents, we're husbands and wives, we're daughters and sons. I found one of the things that I found the hardest, Anthony, if I'm going to be honest with you, was I didn't see my mum for 9 months.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see one of my brothers lives overseas, and I can't wait for the next time he's home. But that absolutely tested me, I think, personally, that I couldn't get in the car and go to see him. So I think that made us all.
I found that as well. It was the fact, like, we all have the freedom to travel around now, but it was when you weren't allowed to travel. That freedom, like, it built up an anxiety inside of us to think that, oh my God, we're not allowed to go. You know what I mean? That, I suppose none of us have ever experienced that before in our lives, that we can't go somewhere, we can't go to the local, or we can't go down to the village and have our chats with the people that we would have met on a weekly, daily basis, and that was but I've always struggled with that work-life balance anyway. But as you mentioned, like, this summer has been 7 days a week, and it's been 12, 14-hour days. Like, I have a young family, 2 and 5, and I might have only seen them for 45 minutes a day, like when I come home from work or something and they were going to bed, or and you're being required 7 days a week, because our facility closes on a Monday and a Tuesday. But, like, the amount of phone calls, we would have had like 60, 80, 100 phone calls every Monday and Tuesday for people looking to plan stuff for the week ahead. We have an online booking platform, which, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't have survived the summer, because the amount of bookings that came in from 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night time, where we wouldn't have been available on the phone, has been it's been a godsend. It's really, really good. Yeah.
And pre-COVID, Anthony, would you have had an e-commerce element to your site where people booked online?
No, we had a very, very basic website that gave some information about what our business was, but, like, the last 20 months, our business has totally transformed 360 degrees, like, on what we used to do, like, and you'd be thinking to yourself, God, why didn't we do this years ago, that kind of way. But some of the systems weren't in place either to do it, so e-commerce has really been transformed. The necessity for it has transformed in the last 2 years, so
yeah. Okay. And do you find yourself looking at the business now in a different way?
Yeah, definitely from where I started to where I am today, absolutely. I'm constantly learning every day anyway. But definitely how I run and manage the business from pre-COVID, yeah, absolutely. It definitely take a lot more on board every day, like.
Yeah. And what are the biggest challenges? I know that in the sector at the moment, a lot of the big challenges include retention of staff, recruitment of the right staff, and having, incentivizing people to come into the sector, whether it's a hotel, a restaurant, a bar, an activity facility like yourselves. What do you find the biggest challenge at the moment for you in the business?
We, in fairness, and it's a testament to our staff, we have a good core staff for the last number of years. And when the pandemic hit, they all were put on the temporary wage structure, but they were all just dying to get back to work when we got back opened. And last year was a bit up and down because we got open for 3 months and then we were closed again, and we got open for the 4 months or the 4 weeks of December, which was bad weather and cold and stuff, so it wasn't overly busy. And then after Christmas, then everyone was back closed up again. So all the guys that work for me, and we've recruited some more staff over the summer as well, they've all been just mad to get back out and interacting, I suppose, with people and just helping people to have the best time while they're experiencing the karting, because some people would have never seen a karting track before, let alone a kart, or experienced it. And just to see when people come off the circuit, you've experienced it yourself as well, that just the adrenaline buzz and the sense of like what you've done, and then you get all of your lap times, and it's just the excitement. Like, you know, I've met people days and weeks later and they're still kind of buzzing from the experience that they had with us here. Yeah, so it's good.
And it's very inclusive. Like anyone can enjoy it.
Yeah, any age from 5 years of age up to 105 can do it, you know. So
and it's a bit of crack too.
It's very difficult. We deal on a full day. We deal with maybe 180 customers in the karts, and that's a lot of people to keep happy on a daily basis. And sometimes you do have the odd unhappy customer, but 99% of the time it's very, very good, very positive. It gives you a sense of
staff isn't an issue for you. You have a good team, which
at the minute we're kind of in a transition where we generally, our workers would be like 4th, 5th, 6th year students, and then maybe 1st, 2nd year in college. And there's always a transition where when staff get to a certain age where they are, I suppose, looking to see the future, and they either go do apprenticeships or are returning to college where they've been in the 1st year or 2nd year. So staff, we're in a little bit of a transition at the minute where we're losing maybe 6 or 7 or 8 staff members that we would have had for a number of years, but that'll open up new opportunities for new staff to come on board. But it is difficult. It is difficult to find staff. Just from talking to other people in the business, from hotels to restaurants and so on, they're finding it very difficult to find staff to do the work.
What do you think? Like, what help do you feel from your perspective as an activity business, you know, at government level or, you know, at educational level? What would really support the sector as a whole going forward?
One of our biggest issues, I suppose, in our sector, in the karting sector, is insurance, and that's a massive thing. Like we've had some circuits close down because they couldn't get insurance quotations, and that's because of over exaggerated claims and stuff on other tracks, and just insurance policies ballooning to the point of people not being able to afford to pay. Just for instance, like our insurance has gone up 100% in the last year, and we've had 0 issues, claims or convictions in 21 years have been open. So only for we're a well-established business, open for 21 years, we wouldn't have been able to, I suppose, absorb that increase. Like it's gone from maybe 10,000 up to 25,000 euros. For no particular reason. So exaggerated claims within the industry and payouts is definitely one of our biggest issues at the moment. In relation to the tourists, I'd say the amount of work that's going on in the background, we get huge help from Kilkenny Tourism and All to Ireland. So they are doing a lot of work in the background to promote Ireland as a destination. And I suppose this summer has seen huge Irish staying in the amount of people staying in the country and not going to foreign destinations, which has been great for our own economy, because the pandemic, while it was a negative, there was a lot of, I suppose, payments given out to Irish people, which have now reinvested in the likes of Kiltorcan Raceway or likes of those sort of businesses around the country, and it'll keep the money circulating within the country, I suppose.
And something as well, Anthony, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like we're in touch with Fáilte Ireland on a regular basis, and the Leo in Kilkenny and Kilkenny Tourism and all of the other tourism entities in the different counties and the local authorities as well. And they are really, whether people realize it or not, there's a lot of work going on in the background, and it's helping massively. It's helping massively. The insurance piece is something, it's a bone of contention, and it's something I don't agree with. I think it's disgraceful, really, that businesses are pinned to their collar to cover a cost like that. You know, I know of some businesses in the activity space that have to go overseas to get insurance, you know, which is completely wrong. We do need, that does need to be addressed. I absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of businesses having to close over the last number of years because they couldn't get insurance premiums or quotations. Even no one would even quote them to do, and it's it just feels wrong, like, because people are investing their lives in businesses, and like for our facility, in 21 years, the amount of development that has gone on here, like it's huge. And there's another track that's up in County Louth that couldn't even get a quotation for insurance, and they had closed for a number of months for the summer. And like they have invested millions probably in their facility, built into thousands. And to say that they have invested that amount of money and insurance can close their doors overnight, it's wrong to say that, like, you know, and we have to go overseas for our insurance, just like every other track in the country. And a number of years ago, like, there would have been people ringing us to get our business, whereas now we're out there crawling on our hands and feet to get insurance quotations, which is, there's no competition out there, so that's why the premiums have been driven up as well. Like, the amount of underwriters that have left this country in the last couple of years is unbelievable, and has left zero underwriters in Ireland to quote any soft play areas or karting tracks or leisure centres or anything like that. So it's unfortunate money is going abroad, I suppose, out of the country.
Yeah, and I suppose to put it into perspective as well for those that aren't in the sector, before, like I always say that this sector has consistently got challenges. So pre-COVID, Brexit, insurance, recruitment. And one of the things that I feel really strongly at the moment about is that we're losing that sense of professionalism. There's a perception out there, maybe I'm wrong in saying this, that, you know, a lot of people, they undervalue and lower the status of the sector in their own heads, that it's not a professional sector. And I was living overseas a couple of years ago, and I realized while I was there in one of the Scandinavian countries, I realized why we are recognized for excellence and for the Céad Míle Fáilte, because we know how to deal with people, and this has been our bread and butter stuff for decades. And when I was in this country, I saw tourism and hospitality with no ministry, with no funding. You know, it's all full of bodies that are set up to self-fund the industry. And you could see it in how people interacted. They didn't respect their own position when they were working in the sector, because it was just a quick fix. Whereas in Ireland, we have the best of professionals in this sector, and I really don't want and would hope that that's never lost, because it's part of who we are, and we need to, the obstacles that are being put in our way, like insurance outside of the pandemic, but like insurance, and like recruitment and all the rest of it, and the added costs of introducing e-commerce and introducing different systems into your business to keep up with the trends and keep up with the changes in the marketplace. I would hate for that to deter people from working in the sector or opening businesses in the sector.
The tourism sector is possibly one of the backbones of the country, and what attracts foreigners, Americans, like the amount of people from other countries that we would generally see here on a yearly basis is it's dropped off. But hopefully that the work is going on in the background with Tourism Ireland and Fáilte Ireland and Kilkenny Tourism, that when it is allowed, that these people will return, and the structures are still going to be in place. But definitely it's not made easy, like, you know what I mean. Getting up to work in the tourism industry every day is difficult, like, and there's no benefits from, or there's no incentive for us to get up and work, which you touched on, like, it's tough going every day, like, it's tough going, and there's no real help there with it, like,
You said something there, Anthony, that I often refer to myself, that now we work with different industries: food, the media, retail, tourism, hospitality, construction, professional services, and we love the work we do. I wouldn't be doing it unless I did. But I do see the challenges in some of those sectors. And I've always said that the two backbone sectors in this country that have kept our economy going, recession after recession, are agri and tourism and hospitality. They're the two that always get us out of our our recessions as they happen, and create and support employment and make the money turn the wheels of the economy. So I suppose it's something I would feel very strongly about, that we need to hold on to that piece. But we also need to be incentivizing people and encouraging people to come into the sector, I wanted to ask you something as well around accessible tourism, right? Now, I know that you guys have, and I want you to talk a bit about this, because it's something I'm intrigued by. You have the facility for people with, limited mobility and other needs to use your facility. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, so I suppose for myself personally, having young kids, we would have been off on a Monday, and we've always opened the door on a Monday morning and just went out and not come back till that evening. And when I go around and look at other businesses, I look at how are they so busy on a Monday, and try and take some parts of their business and apply them to my own business. But touching on the mobility section, like, what I have felt very strongly about over the years is no boundaries. There should be no boundaries to who should be allowed drive a kart or whatever, to have that sense of enjoyment and the adrenaline. And so we invested in two-seater karts 3 years ago, which can allow an adult to accompany a person with any various disability. Like, we have one couple that come to us, a male and female, and the female is in a wheelchair, and we get her into the kart, and her partner drives it, and she's able to steer the kart. And like, the smile on her face when she gets out of the kart, like, is all well worth it. For those kind of moments, you'd nearly do it for free because it just makes everything worthwhile. Back to kids with autism or maybe various other ones like Down syndrome, for a family to come along. We've experienced it a number of times locally in Kilkenny. There's a family that come to us once or twice every few weeks with one of their kids has Down syndrome, and the dad brings her out in the kart while the mum and the other two kids go for a drive as well. And it's just that sense of inclusion that everyone can do it within the family, because I'm sure they experience it on a daily basis, the stuff that they can't do all together as a family. So like the fact that they can come here and they would stay here for 2 hours and maybe drive for half an hour, and it's just the sense that they are accepted and allowed to do this here. And for me, that's one of the biggest sense of achievement, I suppose, that I feel over the last couple of years is investing in these products to allow the inclusion. And as I said, it's no boundaries whatsoever, you know.
Yeah,
so
I love that. I love
we
that.
also have the odd husband and wife. We either say it'll cure a row or start a row. So have to challenge themselves on the track out there to see who the better driver is. So
Oh my God. I know the day when I went down there, you were there yourself. By God, my husband raced around that track like a lunatic. But it was, and I mean this, I genuinely mean it. It was one of the nicest experiences because I was nervous.
yeah, like and you were out with 20 other people on the circuit, or 17 other people on the circuit, and you can feel the inclusion, like with Dave and your daughter, like that. All of you can come and do this activity together, like, and you all got your own buzz out of it, no matter if you were zooming around or just driving Miss Daisy around. You got that sense of, like, I don't know, there's nothing like that release of that adrenaline, like, to get.
And when I saw my 10-year-old passing me out on the track, I thought, oh God, Mags, you need to step up here. But I love that piece about, you know, that you include people. I think it's so important. And there's, in fairness to Fáilte Ireland, they are rolling out an accessibility tourism initiative in the next couple of months. And there's some of the local authorities like Wexford, here in Wexford County Council have been really proactive. They've got an accessibility officer there. Caroline, she's doing amazing work with Bobby Byrne, and they're really trying to push that as much as they can, because I suppose we all now have, you know, relations, family, friends where there is challenges, and this is real life stuff. And you know, it's great to have where families can have the choice, you know, they have options.
We came across this scenario a couple of years ago, and which really highlighted it for me personally when we had a school tour here, and mainstream school, and there was one young boy, he had Down syndrome, and at that stage we weren't set up to deal with that, and it really made me focus on, oh my God, like, we need to do something about this. And he was fine with not, he's probably experienced this the whole time where he couldn't be included in the activity. But at the end of it all, we done like a presentation, like, of the awards for the day, like, and we done up, we have certificates that we give to each student, and like we made a special onus on giving this young man a best driver of the day certificate, like, and oh my God, you should have seen the cheer and the roar that went through the whole facility from all the other kids that this young lad was after getting this. It was it's just brilliant, like, you know, just made it all worthwhile. So
yeah, and in fairness, Anthony, I think that's something really proactive that you did in bringing that inclusivity piece into the business. You know, Ireland is catching up now. There's a lot of really good people doing a lot of good work around this piece in a lot of different industries. And I think it's of huge value to encourage more people, especially in the international pipeline now post-COVID as well. Because I realized a couple of months ago that there's X amount of buses pulling in, or were pre-COVID, sorry, just a fly here, pre-COVID, coming into Rosslare with special needs kids and adults on them.
Yeah.
Where do they go? You know, and we need to recognize and include everybody in our society, I think, going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's really important. Anthony, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And
I for hours on business.
I know, that's always the case, isn't it? But I wish you the very, very best of luck. Before you go, I want you to think about this. What is the one piece of advice you would give to people in the sector or to anyone who is considering opening a business at the moment? What would you give? What's the one piece of advice you would give?
I suppose back yourself, have the support structures in place to be able to put a lot of time towards your business, because it's going to take a lot of time to get your business up and running. And I suppose just go in with the right mindset of what you want to achieve, what your goals are. But you definitely have to get work-life balance as well. I need to swallow that pill because I don't have it. I'm trying to gain it. And myself and Mags have talked about it on a number of occasions. But it's I suppose there's great opportunities out there for everyone. And we can only see it in the last couple of 6, 8, 10 months, the amount of different businesses that have opened up. People incentivizing themselves with coffee shops, and like we couldn't go into a coffee shop. So what do people start doing? They got trailers and they went to different locations in outdoor settings. You know what I mean? And that's like what an idea, like, you know. And who would have ever thought in 2019 we'd have horse boxes parked up at parks and stuff selling coffee?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that's people like everyone is great imaginations, and all it takes is an idea, and just back yourself. Just back yourself.
Yeah, and I think as well, you're after saying something that is so smart and so simple. We need to back ourselves, and you know, if it feels right, go with it. Because if you don't try, you'll never know. And I think one thing that has come out of this pandemic is it has positively persuaded us into progress.
Yeah.
We've had to think outside the box. We've had to find solutions. And we've had to open up to new ways of living and new ways of doing business, and reshifting our priorities a little bit as well, because I think the work-life balance is a constant challenge. But if you can, you know, incrementally introduce little bits into that, and it's all about healthy habits, I think, Anthony, as well, it's fair to say.
I definitely think people's perspective has changed a lot from work to life. I just experienced a lot of bereavements over the last number of months. And these people would love to be alive and spend time with their families, and it's very difficult. We need to put a lot of work into our work. We need to put a lot of work into our families as well. But in a couple of years' time, when my kids grow up, they're going to be asking me, why is there a horse in the back of the coffee shop? So yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to be there when that question is asked. Listen, thank you so much, Anthony.
Listen, I just want to say a massive thanks to yourself as well, and the rest of the girls in the office for the work and the help that you've given us in the business over the last year. It's really appreciated.
And by the way, just for note, I didn't ask Anthony to say any of that. But I do appreciate it. And I genuinely do appreciate it. And it's a pleasure to work with business owners who are focused and committed to succeeding. That's what we're all about. And sure, it's my job. That's my job, to support progress.
Not a job if you enjoy it, though.
Yeah, I do. I love it. I do. I enjoy it, and I like to see progress happen.
And we're the same here. We're so passionate about karting and giving people the experience of karting that it's not like a job. Like it's not like a job, you know. And that's
there's a saying, you know, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day of your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anthony, the very best of luck. Kiltorcan.com is where people can book their day out. And I 100% recommend it for a bit of crack or team building. It's a really nice day, a beautiful facility, and you'll be well looked after. So wishing everyone a good week ahead. Anthony, thank you again. And we'll talk to you all soon. Slán.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye.